Welcome back, everybody. Today we're talking about the Rust car guide for the brand new update that should already be out on the PlayStation and the Xbox for the Rust Console Edition New Gen version. This will also include the motorbikes, pedal bikes, and the sidecar variants, and some tips to find these vehicles, and hopefully some build tips and survivability tips for you out there, because it's going to be a little nutty for sure. All right, tip number one, before we do the big breakdown. The junkyard is great, but I would recommend not living next to it, at least for the first 2 months, because everybody's going to live right next to this bad boy. We'll cover more on this monument here in a moment, but just be advised that that is definitely a thing. Also, one of the biggest changes, you should see better roads and also these gray roads that interconnect between these monuments. You'll also notice that, like, between the water treatment plant and like that sulfur quarry, you have to kind of go around the outpost to get through there. And also there are some dirt roads, the brown roads connecting other monuments. Those can be particularly bumpy. Be careful. So really, when you're planning out your wipe now, you kind of want to see where the main roads are at and probably plot accordingly. If you want to be an aggressive road warrior, then go ahead and set up right next to the road. But a lot of times you can also get access not only through the dirt paths, but also the shorelines here. They can be quite flat. I think the biggest obstacle there would be the logs. All right, before we go hunting for the vehicles themselves, it's worth noting that you will need low grade and some car parts to get this thing going. There are 3 different types of car parts. There's low, medium, and high quality parts. The parts you'll find out in the wild in these baskets, we'll show you some examples of those, will be low quality parts. Okay, so here's the thing. When you start getting these parts, space is going to be a problem. See how these don't stack? That's an issue. So once you do learn these low quality parts, you can repair them for very cheap, and watch how these spark plugs will stack now. Bingo. This helps considerably. So a lot of times I like to condense these car parts and just make like a cheap tier 1 backpack and kind of just run around and see what I can find. We will show you locations on the side of the road where these do spawn. They're actually quite plentiful. Using this compact method helps a lot, but if you kind of want to skip this step altogether, you can go to the car or vehicle parts vendor in the, I want to say Bandit Camp. Yeah, there you go, Bandit Camp. It's all the way at the bottom of this list. Sorry, I'm like moving through. It's probably pretty nauseating there. If you're at the Airwolf station, right where you buy the aircrafts, go around that vendor in the back, and you'll see a doorway and some stairs that go up to the vendor there. They do sell car parts and car lift. Now, with the new dynamic vending machines at the beginning of a wipe or an update at any point, these will be extremely expensive. But as the wipe goes on, they'll start to drop in cost. Normally, the car lift straight up is 125 scrap. But because this is almost at the wipe, I believe, we have this for 75 scrap. This will be a required item if you do want to lock things or move things around. But you can get the cars up and running just with some basic car parts. By the way, so if you do want to skip finding all those car parts, repairing those, you can buy all of these here. All of the car parts mentioned, each of them, the engine, the spark plug, the valve, the crankshaft, and the pistons here. One of each, and again, 2 valves, 2 spark plugs, and 2 pistons if you want to just cover your bases. And I would say probably 75 to 100 low grade just to kind of cover a decent travel. The car lift is required if you do want to add a lock to the modular vehicle. It is quite important to have that, especially if you're driving around, because anybody can just jump in and take off. It's also, I think, a necessity if you're going to have the item module in the back. We'll cover some of that here in a second. So a lot of times if you find some of these low quality parts, you can just learn some of them. They're 20 scrap a piece at the research table. Like I said, really nice for compacting these. Your inventory is going to be straight up just car parts. You'll see. It's nuts. All right, on to looking for the cars on the side of the roads. They spawn all over the place in 2, 3, and 4 slot variants on the chassis. We'll show a good example of where to find these loot baskets and what they look like. They're smaller than what we're used to, so they're kind of easy to miss, to be perfectly honest. So these are quite juicy. Even if you're not looking to put together a car, a lot of times these have 2 baskets in them. If you see between the driver's seat and the passenger side, you can see a basket here. It does have 8 scrap, so even if you're not going for the cars, get the 8 scrap. That's as much as a green crate. You can see where you have car parts here. Some of them, I think none of them have stacked because I haven't repaired those. Got a basket back here. Usually there's another basket in the back of this. So a lot of times, if you just want to start out with a little bit of low grade, just run around until you have enough car parts, and you'll see that you'll have more than enough. See right there, basket. Look at that crankshaft. Already have 2 valves. We're almost there. We're pretty much there. We just need an engine at this point. So again, look for these tiny baskets. Other monuments you can find these. The gas station, that makes sense. The mining outpost. And just look for the baskets. They're actually all over the place. The mining outpost can be a good start to finding these vehicles and putting together the car parts that you will need, because you have a couple things here. A recycler, spawn points for loot, but also a repair table. If you already know the car parts, you can start to condense these guys by sticking it in, spending 4 metal fragments. Look, now these spark plugs, they stack. These can take up a lot of spaces and they can be quite annoying, but to be real, if you have these little access points like this, it makes it real nice for a quick repair, just going right back out in the mix to get yourself a car. Ooh, it looks like we found a camper van. Okay, you can start to see right there in the lower right hand corner, wood, high quality, and metal fragments. We'll fix this a little bit here in the back, but mostly I want to get this front compartment. The beauty of this thing is even though we don't technically have a lock on this thing, we can put a spawn point in there, and that's what we're going to do. There we go, hold all. I'm going to mount this, then I'm going to make my bed. Okay, finally, it's daytime. We're driving down to the junkyard to attach our key lock. We'll show you real quick at water treatment plant. Again, motorcycles. Water treatment's a great monument anyways, but you have a lot of diesel spots, but you also have this motorbike here, the double, which you really need 2 people to get out of there, but it is a thing. See it right there. Oh, it's just a single this time. Oh, I guess that changes. And there should be one under that canopy over there by that diesel barrel. There should be at some point. So a decent amount of spawns for those. The junkyard's great because it has so much utility, but so many different places you can hide. I love the monument. I would say it probably goes water treatment, then maybe junkyard for me, personally. It's got a lot of utility. So you can just go right here, go over to the interface, add a code lock, boom, boom, boom. Could be anything. Then get right back in. Technically, nobody can jump in the vehicle. The glass will be bulletproof to a point until it breaks. So you're technically good to go. I think I typed it in correctly. So now we can actually kind of drive around and have a little bit of protection. But don't have a false sense of security, because just because this is locked, people can eventually break this thing down. Remember, once it reaches a certain level of durability in the cab here, people can destroy the lock. I think it's like 15% of the overall health, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of times what you want to do is make sure you repair everything so you've got more durability, but more importantly, the cab, so it's much harder for people to actually raid. It's both fragmentation grenades and HVs that do the most damage to a car. Most of the time people aren't rolling around with HVs, most of the time. Although if you have a bunch of road warriors like popping everybody, then yeah, that's going to happen at some point. So just stay clear of that. Nothing's invincible. Nothing beats having a base. But this is extremely useful for monuments, raiding, farming, you name it. Look at this, we'll get ourselves a diesel barrel. As we said earlier, it's not safe to really park here at all, because anybody can kind of push your car on top of the lift and then strip the lock off. Or conversely, we've got this over here, our crane lift that can actually pick up any vehicle, locked or not, and throw it in the wood chipper and break it down to resources. So yeah, you want to be very careful with where you're putting stuff. It's got 2 modes, the crane mode and then the driving mode, which I think left thumbstick pushed in changes between those. And as you would imagine, you just kind of activate the magnet and throw stuff in. And release. Loot? Not bad. So again, some people, because they just don't know yet, they'll be inside of here like locking their cars and just walking off. No, not safe. I would say just either strip the locks and take the modules you want, or just throw them in the wood chipper and get that money. Worth noting, if any lift is powered, anybody can use it to strip the locks. If the owner of the base turns off the power, nobody can use the lift. Also, when the lift is up, things can be removed. That's how you clear off people's bed spawns. You remove it and then put it back on. I can still drive this as is. The lock is still intact. I can throw this back on. You notice I can't remove this module because there's car parts inside of it. Once they're removed, you can actually remove that block. So start to stockpile all these different modules that you do like inside of your garage. I would highly recommend that. And even before you get like that level 3, it's good to just collect all those armor modules because you don't need to know the blueprint to repair it. If you're inside of here and you do the repairs, it should be a lot less than it is when you use a hammer. So keep that in mind. And a lot of times people can kind of, if you have a 4-slot chassis, you can come in here and slide different modules around. So as you saw earlier, taking durability damage can affect the engine. So you can already start to see configurations where maybe you have the engine in the middle, where people would be shooting at you or things you run into, it would be a lot more protected. Or if I stuck a module in front of this, as long as I could still see it, it's good to go. There are an insane amount of configurations and combinations you can do. Also, inside of the camper, I can switch seats in real time. I don't know if we showed this earlier, but you can also change the lock mechanism there. It does relock once you go outside of the vehicle. When I remove the module, it resets the bed. So keep this in mind. If you steal somebody's camper, make sure you stick it on a lift, take off the camper module, and then put it back on because they can still spawn on their bed spawn. Most people forget to clear it. And if you park it inside of your garage, yeah, if it's me spawning inside of your garage, I'm going to wreak havoc and take whatever I can or despawn it. So just keep that in mind to make sure you clear all of the bed spawns if you do steal somebody's camper. To keep this thing from being broken into, just make sure you repair this front cab here. This is important, yes, but it's more so to stop people from shooting at you. But technically, nobody can get inside of this until that lock is broken or the car is completely destroyed. So yeah, once you do have a garage set up, garages have to be so large to service the size of the lift and your ability to move around on the interior that it's going to be at least a 3x3 or a 2x3. So you really have to be careful about how much you're actually putting down because your upkeep cost is just going to go through the roof if it's your standard base. Remember, garages are large, but they're mostly hollow. This is like good to go for farming, to be perfectly honest. You put like just a jackhammer, backpack in here, some stems or something, you're good to go. Like, yeah, you might get tossed, but for the most part, this is way safer than going on foot. Alright, before we go over and show you some of the safe zone stuff, a couple of configurations that I think are very powerful. This one spawned naturally on the map, and this is very powerful because you have a strong engine block here, so even with the crusty engine parts, you have a good speed. Couple modules that I think are very strong. The 2-slot chassis is actually extremely powerful because you've got the speed, maneuverability, but you can do combinations like this, which is very tanky. If you get inside of the steering armored module, you can interact and change seats. Once this is fully repaired in the front, this is armored glass. You can open these slots here, shoot from or get shot from these different slots. If somebody is in here or you just switch seats, you can switch to a weapon and then blast people and then immediately close the window. You can also interact with other objects through these windows. As long as your armored window's up in the front, you're pretty much tanked out if this thing is locked. So this can be great for moving across the map if you have a lot of loot on you in a backpack and you want to move quickly. This will protect you because there's armored in the back and on the sides as long as you keep those things up. The downside to this armor module is the visibility is extremely low, so you have to be very familiar with the map or roads ahead of time. It helps a lot. Also, it will go slower because of the weight, and its consumption of fuel will be higher because you're moving more mass. So this would be an excellent car to actually take and then lock up itself. The configuration we were talking about before, where you put down a battery and then a lift and then connect it with a wire tool, we could technically lock this one up, throw down a sleeping bag, and come back later. That's a great tactic because you may not even have the parts you need to drive this away, but at least it would be locked. Then you can pick up your extra stuff, the battery, the lift, and you know, put it in like a stash or something and then come back, because this configuration is quite nice out of the box. And also the armor modules, you can craft them later, yes, but it's probably better to collect them and then just repair them manually because, you know, it takes a while to get to level 3, or at least a decent amount of time. Another configuration that I find awfully powerful is the steering column module that we have here with a loot module in the back. So on a 2-slot chassis, you can stick that over here. Once it's locked, that loot compartment is not lootable until the car is completely destroyed. And what's beautiful is you can actually drive and then reach back from behind while you're driving and then either put stuff inside or sort the loot. So extremely useful if you're on the go. It's a great just all around, I think, farming vehicle. Because you might want to wear a little bit of armor while you're farming, so really if they're shooting into the car, your armor should take most of that damage. Or you can also do this, just harass somebody on a bicycle in-game. There's no way this guy's out pedaling me. Yeah, here, scrub. So you can start to see how these vehicles really change the way the game's played overall, and giving you a lot of different options. Heck, you can even use these vehicles to escape your base with loot while you're getting raided. It is a thing, and heading towards safe zones are nice. They're not an end-all beat-all or an invincible place to hang out, but it's definitely useful. So you can see we can actually spawn in the safe zone now. We're in the safe zone. We don't take damage, but our vehicle does. If you kind of park out of the way, you're usually safe for a little bit. I wouldn't say keep your base loot in here, because that's irresponsible, but if you kind of park out of the way and most people won't jump in front of you, I think you'll be alright. Alright, so that should do it for all of the things here for Rust Console Edition, now getting modular vehicles, bikes, and motorbikes. There's still so much more to discover, so much more to do. So this should hopefully get you started and get you out there and start using these vehicles right away. So hopefully we'll see you in the next live stream / video or on my custom server there on the left hand side of the screen. Alright, love you, bye.